In the quiet moments, that's where I'll find a little room to breathe, leave it all behind. Give me room to breathe, I need some time to heal my heart, to clear my mind. Gonna love myself, yeah, I believe in the power of me. Just give me room to breathe.
Great new day to all my self-care family and friends. Welcome back to another Room2Breathe Podcast. I am your host, LifeCoach614, and I am so glad that you made space to be here with us today. Now, before we dive into today's episode, do me a quick favor. If you're feeling the vibes, go ahead and show us some love. You can do so by tapping the screen, liking, commenting, but most importantly, please share this out with someone who may need a little healing energy today. And if this is your first time here, welcome. Or if you haven't already done so, make sure you hit that follow button, subscribe to our channel, so that way you're always tapped in when a new episode drops. I also want to personally invite you to visit our website at theselfcareclub.org, where you can tap in on our affirmative apparel, motivational merch, and a bunch of free resources to help nourish your growth and remind you that you are supported every step of the way. We are healing in community, growing one breath, one moment, one day at a time. So please know that you don't have to do this alone. I encourage you to give yourself permission to pause, to reflect, and to make space for peace, for growth, but most importantly for you. And remember, if anything in today's episode hits home, go ahead and drop a green heart in the chat. That is our way of saying I am healing, I am growing, and I am showing up for me. Now, let's get ready to breathe, reflect, and grow together. Before we dive into our topic of the day, I want to encourage you to just pause for a moment and focus on your breath. As we inhale, I want you to inhale peace. And when you exhale, I want you to exhale the pressure. Take a deep breath in through your nose. And exhale from your mouth. Again, inhale peace. And exhale pressure. Today, we are talking about something that I think is really powerful, but so simple. It's something known as the 2190 rule. Can you guys put 2190 in the chat for me? 21/90 rule. And I'm going to break down what that is for you. You're going to leave out of here knowing completely what the 2190 rule is and hopefully ready to implement it in your life. I know on the surface, it might sound like it's just some, another trendy self-improvement concept. But I want you guys to stay with me because this one is rooted in something deeper than just motivation. It's going to be about alignment. It's about the quiet kind of transformation that happens when you stop making declarations and you start making decisions. Thank you so much. See, healing isn't just about where you start. It's about where you stay consistent. It's about, what you stay consistent with, I guess I would say. Anybody can start over on a Monday, right? But healing is what happens on the Thursday you almost gave up. See, growth doesn't show up in grand gestures. It shows up in the small, intentional moments where you choose yourself over and over and over again. It's not some big milestone that changes you. It's the daily devotion to your peace, your purpose, your process. And so when you think about the 2190 rule, That's our reminder that it takes 21 days to build a habit and 90 days to build a lifestyle. 21 days to begin something new, to break an old pattern, to shift your mindset or realign your energy. And then 90 days to let it take root so deeply that it becomes a part of who you are. Think about that. In just 3 weeks, you can start a shift, right? And then again, in 3 months, you can become someone new. And I don't mean new in the sense of, chasing a different version of yourself. I'm talking about the kind of new that allows you to rediscover the you that's been buried under survival mode. The you that's been too tired to dream, too busy taking care of everyone else, too scared to try again. The 2190 rule is about reclaiming your rhythm slowly, gently, and with grace. So let me ask you this. What's one habit that you could change? What's one habit that could change your life if you stayed consistent for just 21 days? What is one habit that could change your life if you stayed consistent with it for 21 days? Welcome in, Cardi. I see you, Blue. Maybe it's waking up a little earlier to pray or meditate. Right? Just getting up earlier to spend an intentional moment with the universe before the world starts making noise. Maybe it's journaling before bed instead of scrolling through someone else's highlight reel. Maybe it's choosing peace instead of reacting, or taking a walk instead of overthinking. I see you, Mars. Exercising, meditating. Yeah. But the thing is, guys, whatever it is, I want you to imagine where you could be 21 days from now if you just kept showing up for you. Because let's be real, transformation doesn't happen because you want it to. It happens because you work it. Not in a way that exhausts you, but in a way that reminds you that you are worthy of consistency. You don't need to do everything. You just need to do something, right? Every day, consistently. And this journey that we're on, this journey to heal, it's not about perfection. It's not about hustle culture or trying to do the most. It's about devotion. Devotion to our healing. Devotion to your peace. Devotion to your process. Because honestly, the truth is, discipline without devotion will burn you out. You'll hit that wall feeling drained, and you'll start to resent every single thing that was meant to restore you. But when you move with devotion, with purpose, love, alignment, your habits don't just change your schedule, they start changing you. So as we breathe, reflect, and grow today, I want you to hold on to this truth. You are not starting over. You are just starting again. And this time, it's not just a goal. It's a lifestyle. It's soft, steady. It's our commitment to being the version of ourselves that peace has been calling for. And it all starts with a 21-day shift. Because we know that change doesn't happen overnight, right? But it does start with one decision. And I want you guys to let that sink in for just a minute. Every breakthrough that you've ever prayed for, every transformation that you've ever admired, every healed version of yourself you've ever envisioned, none of that starts with perfection. It simply starts with a decision. A quiet one, right? The kind of decision that nobody else sees, nobody else claps for. And sometimes Nobody else understands. But you know in your spirit that something has to shift. And so the first 21 days of any change, that's what I like to call the discipline phase, right? It's the part where your desire meets resistance, where your soul is ready for something new, but your body and your mind are still clinging to what's familiar, what's comfortable. See, your brain doesn't care about growth. It cares about comfort. It is wired to protect you, even if that means keeping you stuck in patterns that no longer serve you. So when you start changing your habits, whether it's waking up earlier, eating cleaner, or speaking kinder to yourself, maybe even setting boundaries for yourself, right? Your brain throws a fit. Okay? It's going to whisper things like, hey, we've never done it this way before. Or this feels uncomfortable. It might even tell you, let's quit while we're ahead. But that is not a sign that you're failing. That is a sign that you are reprogramming. You're rewiring your nervous system to believe that peace is safe, that stillness isn't lazy, and that healing doesn't mean losing yourself. It just means finding yourself again. And I'll be real with you, the first few days are hard because this phase isn't glamorous. This is the part where you'll show up even when no one's watching, when you have, very little energy to post about it, when it doesn't even feel like it's working. This is where you build consistency, right? Consistency in the dark before anyone ever sees the light of it. I'll never forget when I was journaling through one of my lowest seasons. Y'all, when I tell y'all, grief had me by the throat, okay? And in that process, I was showing up for everybody else, but when it came time to show up for me, I had nothing. And so I told myself that I would write for 21 days straight just to see what happened. And y'all, those first few nights were ugly, okay? Like, I'm serious, it was ugly. I didn't have, the poetic words that you guys are used to. There were no deep reflections. It was a mess. And some days my journal entries just simply said, God, I'm tired. That was it. One line. That's all I had. And, I would close my book and, cry. Because even just that one line, God, I'm tired, took so much out of me. But around day 8 or day 9, something started to shift. The words became easier. My honesty turned into healing. And so I noticed that I was no longer writing from my pain. I was writing through it. By day 15, my journal wasn't about, what broke me. It was about the things that were building me. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I was teaching myself consistency, self-compassion, emotional discipline, all through one small act that I almost gave up on. And see, that's the magic of the first 21 days. You're not just forming a habit. You are forming trust with yourself. You're showing your mind and your body that you can be relied on, that you can keep a promise to your healing, even when the world is silent, even when your energy is low, even when your progress isn't visible yet. And here's the truth that most people won't tell you. The 21-day mark has nothing to do with perfection. It is all about presence, absolute presence. It's not about how flawless you were. Thank you, Cal. It's not about, how flawless you were. It's about how faithful you stayed. And so every time you choose consistency over comfort, you're shifting something deep inside of you. You're strengthening your self-trust muscle. So instead of beating yourself up for what you didn't do perfectly, celebrate what you did. Maybe you prayed for 5 minutes instead of an hour. Maybe you journaled 2 sentences instead of 2 pages. Maybe you didn't have the best day, but you still gave it your best effort. All in all, that's growth. That's grace in motion. I want you guys to understand that the first 21 days are the soil where your healing takes root. The soil may not look pretty. Hell, it's dark. It's messy. It's uncomfortable. But that's where the transformation begins. You can't rush the sprouting. You can't fake the process. You just have to keep watering it with presence, patience, and peace. And one day you'll look up and what felt like discipline will have evolved into devotion. What felt like struggle will now become strength. And you'll realize it wasn't about building the habit. It was about becoming the person who honors their healing enough to keep showing up. The first 21 days are where you prove to yourself that you can keep a promise to your healing. So don't quit before the shift happens. Stay with yourself long enough to see what happens when your consistency starts speaking louder than your excuses. Because I promise you, this is where the transformation begins. Now, we made it through the 21 days. Let's talk about the next 69 days, all right? That next 69 days is when you become who you are, right? Because, the whole 90 days is where the seed becomes a root. And honestly, I think that this is truly where real transformation begins. Not in the hype, right? But in the harvest. See, the first 21 days, like we said, is about discipline. It's about planting the seed. But the next 69 days, that's about integration. That's when, what you've been practicing starts to settle in your spirit, and it's no longer something that you're trying to do. It's become something that you are. Think about it like this. The first 21 days are like the planting season, right? You're digging into new soil, you're breaking old ground, and you're dropping in those tiny seeds of intention. Your prayers, your habits, your healing work. But once that seed is planted, you can't just walk away. You have to nurture it. You have to water it. You have to protect it. You got to tend to it with care and patience. And even when you can't see anything breaking through the surface yet, you have to continue to pour into it. And so those next 69 days, that's your tending season. That's when you keep showing up, even if it feels quiet, even if it feels like nothing's changing. Because beneath the surface, those roots are growing stronger and deeper. What you planted in faith starts to anchor itself into your identity. And when you reach that 90-day mark, something major shifts. Not on the outside, but within, right? You're no longer trying to be disciplined. You just are. You're no longer trying to love yourself. You just do. You start seeing yourself through a new lens. You start recognizing, I'm not just someone who journals. I'm someone who honors my emotions. I'm not just someone who exercises. I'm someone who prioritizes my energy. I'm not just someone who sets boundaries. I'm someone who protects their peace because I finally realized that I'm worth it. That's the beauty of consistency. It transforms you from doing to being. And here's the truth about that 90-day mark. It's not glamorous. It's not fireworks or overnight success. It's quiet work. It's repetition. It's rewriting your story one day at a time until it no longer feels like effort. Suddenly it feels like essence. Consistency doesn't always feel good. There's a lot of emotional work that goes into it. Because honestly, there are going to be days where you don't feel like showing up. When your energy is low, when your mind is loud, when your spirit feels weary. But those are the days that matter the most. Because healing isn't about how you perform when you're at your best. It's about how you show up for yourself when you're at your lowest. I think that there is something so sacred about those days when you show up empty and still give what you have. When you can sit in the silence and choose peace over chaos. When you decide, I may not feel motivated, but I can still stay aligned. That's growth. That's emotional maturity. And I've learned that alignment lasts longer than motivation ever could. Motivation is loud and temporary. Alignment is quiet and consistent. Motivation gets you started, but alignment is what keeps you grounded. Because when you're aligned, you don't just need the hype, right? You just need the reminder of who you are, whose you are, and what you're building towards. So you got to understand that those next 69 days are sacred. They're where the real work happens, where you learn patience and self-trust and resilience. You start noticing little shifts. Your tone softens. Your boundaries get stronger. Hey, CC. Thank you so much. Your peace stretches, right? And before you even realize it, the thing that you once had to force yourself to do now just becomes second nature. This is where your healing becomes your lifestyle, where your growth becomes your identity. This is where the work becomes you. But yeah, you won't always feel motivated, but you can always choose to stay aligned. So as you move through that 69 days, remember this. Your consistency is your confirmation. Every choice, every pause, every prayer is evidence that you're not just surviving the season, that you are becoming through it. So tend to your gardens, family. Even when it's quiet, it's growing. Even when it's slow, it's working. Keep watering your peace. Keep nurturing your purpose, because before you know it, you won't have to remind yourself of who you're becoming. You'll simply just be. And peace is practice. Boundaries are practice. Self-love is practice. I know that the world makes healing sound like it's just a one and done moment. A sudden awakening where, the sun shines brighter and your heart feels lighter and everything that you prayed for finally makes sense. But the truth is that healing doesn't usually look like that. Healing looks like repetition. It looks like small, sacred choices that you make every single day, even when nobody's watching. Welcome in, LaShonda. Right? Even when you're tired, even when it feels like nothing's changing. Healing isn't an event. It's a lifestyle. It's a rhythm. It's the quiet art of returning to yourself over and over and over again until peace becomes, a natural state instead of some sort of rare occasion. Because peace isn't just a place that you arrive. Peace is practice. Let's talk about what that looks like in real life, right? Peace is when you catch yourself before you react. Exactly. Those layers that no one sees but you and God. So yeah, when you take a breath before you clap back, when you realize that you don't have to attend every argument that you're invited to, boundaries are practice too. When you say no without explaining yourself, when you stop making excuses for people who keep showing you that they're not ready to grow with you, when you stop shrinking your needs just to keep the peace and you start protecting your energy to preserve it. Y'all know what else is practice? Self-love. That's practice too. When you look in the mirror and choose compassion instead of criticism, when you remind yourself that I'm still worthy even when I'm still healing, when you give yourself grace for the lessons that took you longer to learn. I think some of us have some concept or some thought that, at this point in our life, we should already be healed. I'm 40 plus years old and I should already know how to do this. I've been working on this. Why haven't I learned the lesson yet? You got to practice that self-love, because self-love is practice too. So you must give yourself grace for the lessons that take you a little longer to learn. See, that's what healing really looks like. It's not the grand gestures, right? Healing is the micro moments. It's not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's as subtle as just choosing silence instead of chaos, rest instead of resistance, or forgiveness instead of bitterness. Healing lives in those quiet, unposted moments, the ones that nobody sees. As Cece said, it's just between you and God, right? Those nights where you cry, but you don't spiral out of control. Those mornings where you wake up anxious, but you still make your bed. Those afternoons when you breathe through a trigger instead of reliving the whole trauma. That's growth. That's grace. That is healing in motion. You see, your healing doesn't happen in a single breakthrough. It happens in the becoming. Every single time that you choose to respond differently, every time you pause instead of panic, every time you forgive instead of fight, that's the small victory. You're retraining your spirit. You're teaching your body that peace is possible, that safety exists within you, and that you can trust yourself to handle what comes next. And it's not easy, right? There's nothing easy about unlearning survival mode when it's all you've ever known. But the beauty is you don't have to do it all at once. You just have to practice. Forgiveness is a practice, right? You may not feel it right away, but every single time you choose to release the weight of resentment, your heart gets lighter. We said boundaries are practice, right? You may stumble through them at first, but each no strengthens your self-respect. Grace is practice too. It's remembering that you can love yourself and still be a work in progress. I want to remind you of something important. Emotional regulation, forgiveness, and grace, those aren't personality traits. They are skills. Skills that you develop over time through awareness, reflection, repetition. You don't have to be perfect, right? You don't have to be perfect at them. You just have to be practicing them. You have to be intentionally doing, right? This is where we step out of trying. Well, I'm trying. No, I'm doing. And that's why the Room to Breathe philosophy has always been about healing, one breath, one moment, one day at a time. Welcome in, Coach. How you feeling this morning? Right? Because real transformation doesn't happen in a single revelation. It happens through a rhythm, through consistency, right? Through choosing yourself, even on the days you don't feel like it. I'm well. Thank you for asking. You don't heal by force, right? You don't heal by forcing yourself to move on. You heal by learning to stay present in your process. You heal when you stop rushing to be over it. A lot of times I hear my clients say, well, I just want to be over it. I've been doing this for so long. I just want to be over it. Right? But you don't heal when you stop, rushing to, you don't heal by trying to stop, forcing it or pushing it, right? Wanting to get over it. You heal when you stop doing that, right? And you start honoring what it feels like to move through it. Because that's where your wisdom grows. That's where your wholeness is born. And I said it before, and I'm going to keep saying it. Peace is not passive. It is active. It is intentional. It takes work to keep your heart soft in a world that has taught you time after time again to harden it, to toughen up, to shake it off. It takes strength to keep showing up with love when life has showed you nothing but pain. And it takes faith to believe that what's breaking you open is actually building you up. The more you practice peace, the more it becomes your default setting. The more you practice boundaries, the more natural they feel. The more you practice self-love, the less you seek validation from people who can't even see you clearly. Healing doesn't just change how you feel, it changes who you are. And one day you're going to look back and you're going to realize that the things that used to trigger you don't even get a reaction anymore. The people who used to drain you, they don't even have access to you anymore. All that chaos that, once felt like home now feels so foreign to your spirit. And that's when you know that your healing has become your habit. Healing doesn't happen in a highlight reel. It happens in the small, quiet moments of consistency. So I encourage you to give yourself grace to practice. You don't have to get it perfect. You just have to get present. Keep watering your peace, even on the days when it feels dry. Keep tending to your boundaries, even if it seems like no one else understands them. Keep speaking kindly to yourself, even when old voices try to creep in. Because every single breath that you take is awareness. Every single decision that you make in alignment, every act of love that you offer yourself, that's healing. And when you practice it long enough, you'll realize that this isn't just something that you do. It is who you are becoming. And the hardest part of consistency is accountability, especially if you're someone who's healing alone. It's one thing to decide you're ready to change, and it's another thing to entirely hold yourself accountable to the decision when the feelings fade, when life gets busy, or when no one's checking on you, right? Nobody's checking in to see if you followed through. Accountability, that's the part of healing that separates the intention from transformation. Because starting it, that's the easy part, right? Again, motivation gets you moving, but accountability keeps you becoming. As you are, walking this healing journey, especially if you're doing it solo, accountability can feel heavy. It's that quiet space where you have to, face yourself honestly, where you can't hide behind distractions or other people's chaos. It's where you ask, am I still showing up for the version of me that I said I wanted to be? And if we're honest, sometimes the hardest person to stay accountable to is yourself. We can be the best accountability partner for others, but it is hard to do it for yourself. How to keep promises to everyone else, your family, your job, your friends. But when it comes to keeping a promise to your own peace, that's where struggle starts to show up, right? And not because you don't care, but because you've been conditioned to prioritize everyone else's needs over yours. You've been taught that self-accountability is selfish, when really it is sacred. It is all about survival, right? So let me say this with love. Accountability, not punishment. It is protection. Accountability is how you protect your peace, your progress, and your purpose. It's how you make sure you don't keep betraying yourself in the name of being loyal to everyone else. Now, accountability, doesn't always have to come from within. It's okay to get help, right? Holding that mirror up. That's why I say healing happens faster in community. Community sustains what motivation starts. It's one thing to make a commitment in private, but when you bring that to light, when you connect with others who are growing too, it gives your progress power. You realize that you're not alone in the struggle to stay consistent. You realize that everyone is fighting for their own version of resistance. That's why spaces like the self-care club even exist. It's not about, it's not just about talking self-care, right? It's about living it together. It's about building a tribe that says, I see you, I hear you, and I'm holding you accountable for the version of you that you've always prayed for. Whether that's, a life coach, a therapist, a mentor, a trusted friend, a community. Don't underestimate the healing power of check-ins. Accountability, and honestly, accountability and pressure are not the same thing. Pressure tells you to do better, right? But accountability says you can do better, and I'll walk with you while you do it. Hey, Queen, welcome in. Thank you, Cece. I'm going to say that again. Accountability and pressure are not the same thing. A lot of us have people in our life applying pressure, telling us to do better, get it together, be better, right? But accountability is what we actually need. Accountability says you can do better, and I'll walk with you while you do it. I'll help you. Pressure shames you for slipping. But accountability reminds you that you can start again. Pressure drains you, but accountability grows you. When accountability is healthy, it creates space for both honesty and grace. It allows you to say, I'm struggling, without feeling like you are a failure. It helps you to refocus instead of retreating. And what I want you to remember is that accountability is not just about people. It is also about systems, right? Because discipline thrives in structure. And if you're serious about staying consistent, then you have to build systems that support your healing. That might look like journaling your progress. Welcome in, Miss Portia. Right? Journaling your progress, writing down shifts, the wins, the setbacks. It might mean, setting affirmations as phone reminders, just simple truths that center your spirit throughout the day. It could look like scheduling weekly self-check-ins, asking yourself, how's my heart today? What's working? What needs adjusting? Or creating an accountability calendar, right? Marking off each day that you show up for yourself, no matter how small the effort. Because goals will inspire you, but systems will sustain you. So you have to put it in action, you guys. And when you have a system rooted in love, not pressure, you don't fall apart every time life throws you off schedule. You just simply recalibrate. We're not going to scrap the whole trip because we made one wrong turn. And I think it's also important to, again, talk about alignment, because consistency without alignment can become control. You can be doing all the right things, but still feel out of balance if your actions don't match your spirit. Alignment is when your peace and your purpose flow in the same direction. It's when what you're doing externally matches what you value internally. Alignment is what keeps your consistency from becoming chaos. When you're aligned, you don't just chase goals, you cultivate growth. You start asking better questions like, does this feel right for my spirit? Instead of, will this make them happy? And I know how hard it can be when you've spent years people pleasing and performing for acceptance. But healing teaches you that alignment is more valuable than approval. Because being consistent in something that's out of alignment will only drain you. But being consistent in what's aligned with you, that will elevate you. There was a season when I thought accountability meant being hard on myself. Y'all, I was over here keeping score. I shamed myself for not doing enough. But in that season, I learned that grace is a part of accountability too. You can't shame yourself for your transformation. You have to love yourself into alignment. Grace doesn't erase responsibility, it softens it. It reminds you that you're still growing, that you're still learning, still becoming. I am a work in progress and a masterpiece at the same time. And I believe that consistency is the bridge between intention and transformation. Like, I believe that a person can have the best intentions in the world, but without consistency, you'll stay stuck in the vision instead of walking in it. And accountability, especially the kind that is rooted in love and alignment, is what helps you when walking, even if you're walking uphill, right? It's what helps you to fully walk in your purpose. So build your bridge one step at a time. Don't rush the process. Don't rush the process. Strengthen your footing one step at a time. And surround yourself with people who don't just celebrate your wins, but hold you steady in your wobble, even when you mess up, even when you fall. Create systems to make it easier to stay aligned. And above all else, keep showing up. Not because you have to, but because you get to. Healing isn't about doing everything perfectly. It's about having the courage to check in with yourself, to realign when necessary, and to stay faithful in your growth, even when nobody else sees it. I want you to remember that accountability is love in action. It's community. It's structure. It's grace. And alignment, that's like your spiritual compass. Together, they'll carry you from where you are to where you are meant to be. And so as we close out today, I want to just take a moment to slow down. Again, I want you to just focus on your breath. As you inhale, I want you to inhale peace. And when you exhale, I want you to exhale pressure. Inhale through your nose. Exhale from your mouth. Again, breathe in peace. Exhale pressure. This part right here, this reflection, is where everything that we've talked about starts to settle in your spirit. You've made it through the first part, right? But now it is time for us to make it really personal for each and every one of us. I need for you to understand that healing isn't about collecting inspiration. It's about applying transformation. And the only way to apply it is to pause, reflect, recommit. So wherever you are right now, whether you're driving or journaling or just sitting in the stillness, listening to my voice, I want you to speak this next part out loud with me. Let it echo through your chest, let it ground you, and let it remind you that you are becoming. Let it remind you who you are and what you are building. So our affirmation for today is, I am committed to my peace daily. I am building habits that honor my healing and reflect my growth. I am committed to my peace daily. I am building habits that honor my healing and reflect my growth. I am committed to my peace daily. I am building habits that honor my healing and reflect my growth. Say it again, this time with your hand over your heart. I am committed to my peace daily. I am building habits that honor my healing and reflect my growth. Understand that this is not just a sentence. This is a lifestyle declaration. It's a promise to yourself. You deserve to be consistent with the same love and effort you've given to everyone else. You've poured into others for so long. Now it is time for you to pour back into you. I want you to take a few moments today to really sit with these next 3 questions. Don't rush them. If you have the ability to do so, write them down now. If not, come back to the YouTube later and grab them. But I want you to, spend some time with these questions today. Let them open up something inside of you, right? Let's get this breakthrough. So the first question: what's one small habit that I can commit to for the next 21 days? What's one small habit I can commit to for the next 21 days? And I'm not talking about a huge goal, not some major overhaul, just one intentional action that pulls you closer to peace. Maybe it's 5 minutes of journaling. Maybe it's exercising or working out, drinking more water, going for a walk without your phone, or starting your day with prayer instead of panic. Remember, small steps count, right? Every step counts. And even the tiniest of steps compound into transformation. Question number 2. What do I want to tell What do I want to tell about myself in 90 days from now? What story? What story do I want to tell about myself 90 days from now? Picture yourself 3 months from now, right? What does peace look like on you? How do you speak to yourself now? What habits are now second nature? How does it feel to finally be living in what you've once only talked about? What story do I want to tell about myself 90 days from now? And lastly, question number 3. Who am I becoming as I stay consistent with my healing? Who am I becoming as I stay consistent with my healing? I think that this one is deep, right? Because healing shifts your identity. You're not just becoming better. You're becoming truer, right? The you that stands firm in peace, that doesn't settle for chaos, that protects his or her boundaries like sacred ground. Who are you? What does, your energy feel like when you walk into the room? Visualize that version of you. And remember that he or she is not that far away. It's already within you, waiting for consistency to bring it to the surface. So again, who are you becoming as you stay consistent with your healing? So again, I want you guys to process those questions today. Let those questions linger. Let them water your awareness. Because healing isn't found in intensity. It is found in intention. It's not about doing the most. It's about doing what matters consistently. So my challenge to you is, let's do this together. I want you to start your own 2190 healing challenge. Pick one habit that honors your healing. Just one. And I want you to stay consistent with it for the next 21 days. Then keep tending to it for the 90 days, right? Those next 69 days. And watch what shifts. Not just your routine, but your reflection. And I don't want you to feel like you're doing this alone, right? We're healing in community, you guys. So tag me in your challenge. You can message me. You can inbox me. We don't have to post it, right? But I want you to know that you do have a community that you are here with, that is healing with you. So you can feel comfortable to share your journey, your wins, your struggles, your breakthroughs. That's what this community was built for. It was built on the truth that we are here to heal. And, we heal better together, not just by ourselves. Your peace deserves consistency. Your growth deserves celebration. And your healing deserves a witness. Now, before we close today, I just want to remind you of something that I pray that seeps deeply into your spirits. Thank you. This journey that you're on isn't about perfection. It is about persistence. Because real growth doesn't come from getting it right every time. It comes from getting back up every time you fall. It's about showing up for yourself when nobody else sees the effort. It's the quiet victories, the silent battles. Thank you. The private prayers that no one knows that you've whispered in the dark. That's where real transformation lives. And those sacred, unseen moments between you and God. Remember, family, consistency isn't glamorous. It's not always inspiring or Insta-worthy. It's the slow work, the soul work, the kind that doesn't always come with applause. But it's also the kind that changes your life. Because every single time that you choose to show up when it would have been easier for you to quit, you're proving that that old you doesn't run the show anymore. You're showing that you're serious about your peace, your healing, your wholeness. So don't beat yourself up if you miss a day. Don't let shame stop you from showing up. Grace will always meet you where guilt tries to keep you stuck. And the beauty of healing is that it allows space for you to begin again. So let this be your reminder. Give yourself 21 days to build a habit and 90 days to build a lifestyle, because your peace deserves to be practiced, not postponed. Don't keep waiting for the perfect time or the perfect plan or the perfect mood. Start right where you are, with whatever you have and with who you are today. If you can give the world consistency, right? You give the world your consistency, your deadlines, your energy, then surely your peace deserves that same devotion. And remember, it doesn't have to be a solo journey. Welcome in, no fear, no doubt. You are not walking this path alone. We're healing in community. What do we say? One breath, one moment, one day at a time. There's a power in collective healing. There's strength in knowing that someone else out there is breathing through the same storm and still choosing peace anyway. We're doing this together, you guys. We're learning how to slow down, to feel deeply, to trust again, and to build again, layer by layer, breath by breath. Because that's what Room to Breathe is all about. Making space to evolve without apology, without pressure, without rushing. So as you step into this next season, I want you to walk in knowing this truth. You are allowed to take your time. You are allowed to fall and rise again. You are allowed to celebrate the small wins that nobody claps for, because that's what builds the foundation for lasting change. So don't rush your becoming. And know that you are not behind, you're becoming. So let this season be your soft reset, a season where you stop overthinking and you start aligning, where you stop surviving and you start living, where you stop doubting and you start doing. Because that right there That is the entrance to your season of consistency, your season of becoming, the one where you no longer chase peace, you just embody it, where you no longer beg for balance, you create it. And I know that some days will feel like nothing's changing, but I promise you, something is shifting every time you choose to stay faithful to your process. Know that growth doesn't always make noise, but it does always leave evidence. So keep breathing, keep trusting, keep choosing peace, even when it feels unfamiliar. You are laying bricks every single day that your future self will one day stand on. And you know what? That's going to be the moment where you say thank you for not giving up on me. Now, before we part ways, let me leave you with a little extra love and light. As always, I encourage you to keep breathing through the highs, the lows, and every moment in between. I want you to keep choosing peace, even if it feels out of reach. And know that here at the Self-Care Club, you will always be seen, always valued, and always supported. So don't be afraid to take up space, speak your truth, and make a little room for you to breathe. I love each and every one of you to life, and I am praying that your day is not just amazing, but aligned, intentional, and yes, on purpose, filled with purpose. This has been another Room to Breathe podcast, and I cannot wait to connect with you all again soon. Thank you.